Welcome to the OK Let's Learn podcast. This is two podcasts in one where we dive into tons of different topics, and another where we dive into tons of great books and stories. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. So today, it's May. So let's count down the 20th biggest moments in May. We've done this for each of the months. Hey, this is the month, as you know, the April showers bring the May flowers, and we've got lots of days we celebrate, from Mother's Day to Memorial Day. We've got communions, we got graduations, lots of things happening as we get into the summer months, and it's definitely a wonderful time of the year. Number 20. May the 4th be with you. Yes, May 4th. Fans celebrate Star Wars Day because May the 4th sounds like May the Force be with you. But this is just more than just a play on words. Listen, May 25th, 1977, the original Star Wars movie premiered. I remember it like it was yesterday. Sophomore in high school, it was on the cover of Time magazine. All those years later then, on May 27th, 1999, The Phantom Menace arrived in movie theaters. And for those of you that don't know Star Wars, even though the original Star Wars movie was the first movie, it really is the fourth movie, if that makes sense. But I don't have time to go into that if you're not a Star Wars fan. Number 19, and we're going to start off with our countdown with a lot of first here. The Kentucky Derby begins on May 17th, 1875. It's always a tradition in the month of May where you have the Kentucky Derby. It's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, and it quickly became one of the most famous horse races in the world. The first of the Triple Crown. All the traditions are there. Certainly, fancy hats, right? Roaring crowds. It's more than just a race. It's a huge American cultural event. Number 18, the first Academy Awards. May 16th, 1929. A lot smaller than it is today. The first one was just a private dinner with about 270 guests, but it marked the beginning of honoring the best film every year. And today, the Oscars are watched by millions worldwide. Number 17, the first Indianapolis 500 was May 30th, 1911. Cars raced 500 miles around a track in Indiana, and it created one of the most famous auto races ever. Everything came together, and what a lot of people call the greatest spectacle in racing. Number 16, the American Red Cross is founded May 21st, 1881. Definitely go back to my previous episode on Clara Barton. She was the one that founded this great institution. After she saw the horrors of war, she created this organization that was dedicated to helping people in emergency, whether it was wars, national disasters, accidents, still saving lives today. Another first, at 15, the Golden Gate Bridge opens on May 27th, 1937. At the time, it was one of the longest suspension bridges in the world. Its bright orange color and huge, beautiful design made it an instant icon, not only of beauty, but of engineering. Everyone knows this beautiful bridge. Number 14, another bridge that opened. Yes, it's the Brooklyn Bridge on May 24th, 1883. It connected Manhattan and Brooklyn. It was, talk about another engineering achievement, so iconic as well. It really transformed New York City into what we know it today. Number 13, Another first, the Lewis and Clark expedition began on May 14th, 1804. Sent by President Thomas Jefferson, these explorers, Lewis and Clark, traveled across an unknown land to map the western United States. And boy, oh boy, did they find new rivers, American tribes along the way, documenting so much for us to know what we were up against, what we had out there in this Louisiana Purchase that we were ended up getting from France. Number 12, in our final first of the countdown, Jamestown is established on May 14th, 1607. It was the first permanent English colony in America, and this is all about Captain John Smith, John Rolfe. This is Pocahontas, the story that is iconic. And listen, that first year was brutal. It was disease, it was hunger, it was conflict, but it ended up becoming permanent. It marked the beginning of a lasting English presence in North America. Number 11, here we are. Now we're going to talk about, in succession, endings, successes, basically things that came to an end. And number 11, the first Transcontinental Railroad was finished on May 10th, 1869. Again, a past episode, you can go back and learn all about it. But for the first time, people could travel across the United States by train, and it connected east and west, and it transformed everything. Trade, travel, communication, you mention it. Number 10, the fall of Berlin on May 2nd, 1945. It marked the collapse of Nazi Germany's capital. The Soviets came through, they took control of the city, and it signaled that World War II in Europe was almost over. And then at number 9, VE Day, 6 days later, May 8th, 1945. It's Victory in Europe Day, and celebrate the official surrender of Nazi Germany. People filled the streets, happy, overjoyed, relief, celebration after years of war. Europe finally saw peace return. Now we go into the countdown where we're talking about two specific Supreme Court decisions. One thing about this time period, May into late June, you've got the Supreme Court rendering so many of their decisions. And yes, number 8 is Plessy versus Ferguson, May 18th, 1896. It allowed racial segregation under this concept about separate but equal. The ruling stood for decades until it was overturned, making it one of the most important but certainly controversial cases in American history. And here we are at number 7. All these decades later, May 17th, 1954, Plessy versus Ferguson wasn't about schools. It was about the idea of being segregated in many facets of life. But this one was about schools, but it basically shut the door on what Plessy versus Ferguson allowed. Number 7 is Brown versus the Board of Education. It was a Supreme Court ruling that declared, in this case, school segregation was unconstitutional. It was the turning point in the civil rights movement and helped pave the way for equality in education. Now here we are in number 6. We talk about something that, again, I remember. Here we are in 1980. I was just about to graduate high school. Mount St. Helens erupted. It exploded in one of the most powerful volcanic eruptions in U.S. history. Ash filled the sky. Forests were flattened in the landscape. immediately changed. It was an unbelievable moment. You can still see so many videos out there on YouTube. All right, now the top 5 in no particular order, because as I've done with these episodes, to say that number 1 is better than, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's just wrong, because the most iconic, the most memorable, the most horrible moments can all be grouped together in terms of what we remember. When we think of May, the moments in history, what stands out? So these are the 5. Number 1, the Kent State shootings, May 4th, 1970. They occurred during the protest against the Vietnam War. National Guard troops fired on students, killing 4. It shocked the nation and deepened tensions over the war. I mean, what I distinctly remember about this, now I was still young, but as I came of age, Neil Young wrote that iconic protest song, Ohio, in response to these shootings. It was recorded by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young just weeks after the killing of these 4 students. And it was obviously inspired, and it was written by Neil Young after he saw photos of the incident in Life magazine. Sometimes this is what it takes to just turn a moment into such a memorable moment. In this case, it was such a tragedy. That photo of the young student, the young girl student, screaming out in pain, right below her, laying down, is the student that had just been shot. Okay, next one in the top 5. Speaking of being killed, Osama bin Laden was killed on May 2nd, 2011. I think many of us, this is one of those events where you remember where you were. He was killed by U.S. forces. He was the leader. Osama bin Laden was the leader behind the September 11th attacks. His death marked a major moment in modern history in the fight against terrorism. Another of the top 5 moments was the sinking of the Lusitania on May 7th, 1915. It was torpedoed by a German submarine. Almost 1,200 people were killed, including Americans, and this event turned public opinion around, and it pushed the United States closer to entering World War I, which is what we did. And finally, another disaster that we all know, and it happened in May in New Jersey, near where I am, not that close, but certainly in the state. May 6, 1937, it was the Hindenburg disaster. It burst into flames while it was landing. The shocking images and the radio broadcast made it, unfortunately, one of the most famous, horrible disasters ever, and it certainly ended the era of these type of airships. And the final one in the top 5, it's basically celebrating May and all the celebrations. And when I talk about celebrations, hey, we're talking about that Memorial Day weekend, the traditional beginning of summer, even though summer technically doesn't begin until June 21st, the kickoff of summer. No school on Monday, but ultimately we celebrate and cherish those who passed away to maintain the freedoms that we still have. Memorial Day honors those who served. And yes, May is also the celebrations of mothers on Mother's Day, and those endings that come, the graduations and the new beginnings with communions. It is a beautiful time of year. It's a time to celebrate. It's a time to think good things going into the summer. Friends, thanks for staying with me on this journey, learning all about the top 20 moments in May. Reach out to me at kevmok21@gmail.com. We have a Facebook group called OK Let's Learn. It's in the link in the podcast notes. And yes, we are on YouTube. If that's easier to listen, it's audio only. And finally, love the reviews, love the ratings on any podcast platform of your choosing. Apple Podcasts is definitely the most popular. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, top right-hand corner is a plus button. Hit that. That will get you notifications with all the new episodes. We're trying to get episodes out every couple days. Friends, until next time, have fun and keep learning.